Okay, dear student friends, I hope that you have watched the videos or the video rather where we have derived the equations for the indicated power, the brake power, and we have also understood what is the meaning of frictional power. So just to refresh, we know that the formula for indicated power for a 4-stroke engine. So this will be the equation for the indicated power for a 4-stroke engine, and we know the regular nomenclature where Pm stands for the mean effective pressure, which will be Newton per meter square. L is the stroke length, which will be in meters. A will be the cross-sectional area. N is the engine speed. And this engine speed, since most of the time it is given in RPM, we have to convert that into RPS so that we finally get it in watt. So to convert this engine speed from RPM to RPS, we have divided that by 60. That is the first thing. Second thing is this 2 comes because we know that in case of a 4-stroke engine, power is going to be developed for every 2 revolutions of the crankshaft. So capital N, number of cycles per minute, will be equal to the engine speed divided by 2. Now this equation has been derived when the value of Pm is given in Newton per meter square. In some cases, if the value is given in bar, I have already told you that indicated power for a 4-stroke engine will be equal to 100 So if the value of mean effective pressure is given in bar, then we say that the equation changes to 100 Pm LAN divided by 60 into 2, because I have already told you that 1 bar is 10 raised to 5 Newton per meter square. So if I substitute that here, we will find that you will have 10 raised to 5 here, and here you have 10 raised to 3. So finally this gets cancelled, and what is left is 10 raised to 2, that is 10 square, which is 100. So that is why we get this 100, and here that 1000 vanishes because it has been cancelled. Similarly, we also found out the equation for the indicated power for a 2-stroke engine. So in that case, what will happen is, for a 2-stroke engine, everything else remains the same except for this 2 missing from the denominator, because power is going to be developed for every revolution of the crankshaft. Hence, number of cycles per minute will be equal to the crankshaft RPM. So the same thing, if again Pm is given in bar, then this becomes divided by 60 only. So these were the equations for a 4-stroke engine and a 2-stroke engine. And then we also talked about the brake power. And the brake power, we know that generally the equation for the brake power is, we write it as 2 pi Nt divided by again 60 into 1000 kilowatt, where T is the torque, and I have already told you how to calculate the torque. We generally use what is known as a brake drum dynamometer, and you have a drum on which a rope is wound. So this rope will have 2 free ends. One end will be connected to a spring balance and then fixed. The other end will have a hanger on which weights can be placed. So the net load which is going to act on the brake drum will be the difference between the two. So we called this as W, capital W, and the spring balance reading as S. So W minus S gave us the net force acting, multiplied by the radius of the brake drum will give us the torque. Because again, torque is nothing but force into distance. So we say that W minus S into R will be the torque. I also mentioned that in some cases the radius of the rope or the diameter of the rope, either of them may be given, and if it is given, then we will have to consider that. So it will be W minus S multiplied by, again inside bracket, R plus rope diameter. Okay, so you can say you can call it by any suffix. So again, if the values of W and S are given in Newton, this equation holds good. But if the values of W and S are in kgs, then that equation for torque will be, that is this value will be P is equal to 9.81 multiplied by W minus S into R plus rope diameter. Okay, so I just write it like this. So this is the most general equation which you are going to use in order to calculate the torque. Now if the values of W and S are given in newtons, then you don't have to use this, and if the value of the rope diameter is not given, this part will vanish. So depending on what is given in the problem, you are going to use that value. Now a couple of things which are still remaining is that in some cases what happens is, as I said, maybe the mean effective pressure is not given directly. Okay, so it is not very explicit in the numerical, in the statement of the problem. We know that because there is a variation in the pressure, we find out the mean and we call it as the mean effective pressure. Now, is there any mechanism, is there any way which we can adopt to find out the value of mean effective pressure? A lot of research has been done, and one of the ways which is actually extremely difficult is what they do is, suppose I have a piston cylinder arrangement. So, this is the cylinder and we have the piston here. Normally what they do is they attach a kind of a spring, okay, from the cover end. They attach a spring to the top of the piston and see how this spring varies. Okay. Now there is also something called as area of the indicator diagram. There is an entire graph which can be plotted. So once you plot that graph, the methodology, I will only tell you the expression which is normally used to find out the mean effective pressure. So mean effective pressure, if you are using this kind of an arrangement, will be S into A divided by L. Okay. So where S is the spring constant, and normally the spring constant will be Newton per meter square per centimeter. That is, a pressure of so many Newton per meter square has to be applied to the spring in order to make it deflect by 1 centimeter. That is why it is written in this manner. Then A is the area of the indicator diagram. Obviously this will be in centimeter square, and L is called as the base length. It is the base length. Please do not confuse this small l with the stroke length. Okay, this has got nothing to do with the stroke length. This small l is nothing but the base length of the indicator diagram. Now, what is this indicator diagram is? All of you have drawn a PV diagram. So, you may have some kind of a diagram like this for an auto cycle. So, you need to calculate the total area of this, and you need to find out what is the base length. So, if you find out the total area, that is this, then this is going to be the base length of the indicator diagram. And of course, this also will be in centimeter. So, because this is in centimeter, this we have a centimeter here and centimeter square here. When we put these values, okay, so these you could say units in this equation. Finally, we will get the value of Pm again in Newton per meter square only. Okay. So, in some problems, it may so happen that the spring constant is given, area of the indicator diagram, base length of the indicator diagram, and so on is given. So the value of mean effective pressure is not given directly. So you'll have to find out the mean effective pressure using this equation, that is SA by L, and I have already told you what are the meanings of SA and L. And once you get the value of mean effective pressure, you can find out the you could say indicated power. Now then we know that an IC engine is going to work on some kind of a fuel. Okay, so it can be petrol or it can be diesel. When we use either petrol or diesel or something like that, what actually happens is there is something called as specific fuel consumption. Okay, and normally the units for specific fuel consumption is kg per hour. So how many kgs of fuel is being consumed per hour? That is what we generally calculate. And how much is the energy which is released by the fuel? So we have two important parameters which we normally talk of. One is called as the calorific value. Now what do we mean by calorific value? Calorific value means, suppose I take 1 gram of fuel and burn it, how much energy it is going to release? So obviously we can easily understand that when we take crude oil and do fractional distillation, we know that the first thing which comes out will be white petrol or the aviation fuel. Then we have petrol, then we have diesel, then we have kerosene and so on. So now if I compare, just as an example, if I compare between white petrol and kerosene, I take 1 gram of white petrol and I take 1 gram of kerosene and I burn both of them. It is quite obvious that white petrol will release more energy. Okay, so that is defined as the calorific value of the fuel, and normally the units for calorific value will be kilojoules per kg. Okay, or it can be joules per gram. No problem. If you are taking only 1 gram, then what may happen is not much energy will be released. So you can write it as joules per gram. But since we are talking about a large amount of fuel being consumed, we write it as kilojoules per kg, and M will be the specific fuel consumption, because see how much energy is produced inside the cylinder will depend on two important parameters. One, how much fuel are you consuming, and the second one is what is the calorific value of the fuel. These two put together will give you the amount of energy which is released by the fuel itself. So based on these two, what we do is we are going to define what is known as the thermal efficiency now. So again, in thermal efficiency, what I do is I talk about something called as indicated thermal efficiency. And this indicated thermal efficiency, let's say I denote it as IEH. Okay, so this is given by the indicated power divided by M into CV. Okay, now we know that the units of indicated power are in kilowatt. Here, let's see what will happen to this. Now, specific fuel consumption will have the units of kg per hour. Okay, so much fuel is being consumed per hour. So, and this is normally what is given in the numerical also. So, what will happen if I multiply these two? Because it is M into CV. CV is nothing but a calorific value. So, this becomes kilojoules per kg into kg per hour. So this gets cancelled. So I will have it as kilojoules per hour. Now how can I convert this kilojoules per hour into kilojoules per second? Obviously I have to divide it or divide the entire thing by 3600. So once I do that, if I get the value as kilojoules per second, now joule per second is again nothing but watt only. So the units will finally become kilowatt. So this is having the units of kilowatt. This also will have the units of kilowatt, and we can find out what is the indicated thermal efficiency. So indicated thermal efficiency plays a very important role because it depends on what is the overall thermal efficiency will depend on what is the fuel consumption, how much fuel is getting consumed per hour, and it also depends on what is the calorific value of the fuel. And obviously calorific value of the fuel for petrol is different, for diesel is different, and for petrol it is higher than that of diesel generally. Now on similar lines you can also talk about brake thermal efficiency. Okay, so we talked about indicated thermal efficiency. Now we can talk about brake thermal efficiency. So here I write it as brake thermal efficiency. Everything remains the same. We are simply going to write this as Bp divided by M into Cv. So what had happened was, this is again very interesting, and sometimes there is a twist which is given in the problem. There may be some parameters given where you may not be able to find out the brake power, let's say, or you may not be able to find out the indicated power directly. But what is given will be the thermal efficiency, and all these values are given. So maybe if this is given, these two are given, you can easily find out what is the brake power, and then once you know the brake power, you can find out what is the mechanical efficiency, which is nothing but brake power divided by indicated power into 100. Here also we have all these, of course, into 100 will give you in percentage. Okay, so efficiency will always be in percentage. Then another very important, sometimes in some problems we have this also which is given. Normally what happens is, again, the engine RPM is given directly. Okay, so the value of N, it can be 300 RPM, 350 RPM, goes up to 1000 RPM, whatever it is, depending on the size of the engine, number of cylinders and so on. The engine speed is given directly in the numerical. But again, in some cases, they may not give this value directly. So what they give is what we call as the average It's called as the average piston speed. Again, why do we call it as average? We know that the piston is not going to reciprocate with the same linear velocity. Okay, it is going to move at a very rapid rate, during the expansion stroke, because so much of pressure is being exerted on it. It is going to move at a rapid rate, fast rate during the expansion stroke. Maybe during the repeating strokes, it may not move with the same speed. So considering all the 4 strokes or maybe even 2 strokes, we find out what is the average piston speed, and this average piston speed is normally given by the equation 2 into L into N, where L is the stroke length and N is the engine RPM. So the stroke length will have the units of meters. This will be in RPM, so it is meters per minute. So obviously the piston speed will have the units meters per minute. So what may happen is, in some cases, the stroke length is given to you, the average piston speed is given to you, but explicitly they have not given you the value of N. So you have to use this equation and find out what is the value of N. So to find the value of N, we will write N is average piston speed divided by 2 into L. And this value you are going to get in RPM. This value will be obtained in RPM. So these are the most general equations which we are going to use in order to solve the numericals. So what we'll do is, I hope all of you have a copy of that Word document which I had given. Make sure that you have a copy. I'm only going to write the data on the board. I will tell you the methodology to solve the problem. You have to use your own calculator and get the final answers. Okay? So I don't have the answers with me. I just have the question paper with me. So I'll write the statement of the problem, and once I write the statement of the problem or the data which is given in the problem, I'll also write down whatever is asked. So using the data, how can we find out whatever is being asked in the problem is what we are going to see. Okay, so we will start solving the problems now. Okay, we'll solve the first numerical, and the statement of the problem is something like this. The following observations were obtained during a trial on a 4-stroke diesel engine. Now, if it is not mentioned, then we take it as a single cylinder. Okay, so it is not mentioned whether it is a single cylinder, 2-cylinder, 3-cylinder, and so on. If it is not mentioned, we'll take it as a single cylinder only. There is only one cylinder, piston cylinder arrangement. So all the data is given, and that data I have noted it down here. We have the cylinder diameter as 25 cm, piston stroke 40 cm, then the engine crankshaft speed is 250 rpm, brake load, and so on. Okay, so whenever it is given as brake load, we can take it as the net brake load. They have directly given the value of W minus S. Okay, so the value is given directly. You don't have to worry too much about that. Then the brake drum diameter is given as 2 meters. Fuel consumed is given in kg per second. See, you have to be very careful when you look at the units here. The fuel consumed is not given in kg per hour, but it is given in terms of kg per second. Then we have calorific value of the fuel, that is diesel, is given as 43,900 kilojoules per kg. That means if I take 1 kg of diesel and burn it is going to release 43,900 kilojoules of heat. This is what it means. Then the mean effective pressure is given as 6 bar. See, you can see that the value of mean effective pressure is given in bar. Now, what are we required to do? This is the data which is given. What are we required to find out? We need to find out what is the brake power, what is the indicated power, mechanical efficiency, brake thermal efficiency, and indicated thermal efficiency. So these values we need to find out. Let's see how to find out all these values one by one. So this part I have done, whatever is to be found out. Now, since the value of mean effective pressure is given in bar, and since it is a 4-stroke diesel engine, we know what is the equation to be used for a 4-stroke engine when the value of mean effective pressure is given in bar. So I am simply going to write indicated power is equal to 100 pm LAN divided by 60 into 2. Okay. Now, before we actually going to substitute the values, these are given. You can see that these are given in terms of centimeters. Normally, SI units are not used in the numerical. So, how much is 0.25 centimeters? This is 0.25 meters. This is 0.4 meters, and the value is given bar. So we need to find out now what is the indicated power. So how do I find out? This is equal to 100. Mean effective pressure is given as 6. Now the length, stroke length is given as 40 cm, which is 0.4 meters. Now we need to find out the area here. Okay, what is given as the cylinder diameter? So how do we find out the area? Area is nothing but pi d square by 4. So I write it as pi into d is 0.25. So 0.25 square. 4 I will write later at the denominator part. Then n. What is the value of n given as? The crankshaft RPM is given as 250 divided by 60 into 2 multiplied by 4. Okay. So this part gives me the area. So once you substitute these values and using a calculator, it's just a matter of calculating this. So you will directly get the indicated power, which is equal to so many kilowatt, which I leave it to you. So indicated power, you are required to find out how much is the indicated power. So we have already found out the indicated power. Let's see how to find out the brake power now. We know that brake power is equal to 2 pi nt divided by 60 into 1000 kilowatt. And what is the value of T? T is equal to, we are treated as W minus S into R Newton meter. We want it in Newton meter. But since W minus S is directly given, what is given is brake load. Okay, brake load means it is the net load which is acting on the brake drum, which is 70 kgs. So this 70 kgs, we have to convert that into newtons. So how do I find out the value of T then? I will write this as 9.81 to convert it into newtons into W minus S, directly this value is 70 into, now diameter of the brake drum is given. How much is it? It is 2 meters. So what will be the radius of the brake drum? Obviously it will be 1 meter. So radius of the brake drum is 1, and this, you can find it out, whatever this value is, in Newton meter. So you have found out the value of T now using this equation. So once you find out the value of T, you can find out the brake power. So what is brake power? It is 2 pi into N is again 250 RPM. We know that this is 250 into T. Whatever value you have found out, you have to substitute that value here, divided by 60 into 1000. You will get the value in kilowatt. So you have found out now, what did you find out earlier? Indicated power was found out. Now using this equation, you have found out what is the brake power. Now you can easily find out what is the mechanical efficiency. So mechanical efficiency will be brake power divided by indicated power into 100. So you can write it, whatever you get, you will write it in terms of percentage. One very important thing you need to remember is, when you are doing the calculation, please make sure that you know how to use the calculator, because when you find the values of indicated power and brake power, under no circumstances brake power will be greater than the indicated power. Indicated power will always be greater than the brake power, because of which this will be always less than 100%. Okay, so just make sure that you use the calculator properly. So we have found out now what is the indicated power, what is the brake power, and what is the mechanical efficiency. So what remains is we need to find out what is the indicated thermal efficiency and brake thermal efficiency. So indicated thermal efficiency, so I write it as indicated thermal efficiency will be indicated power divided by M into CV. Okay. Now, earlier when we were discussing about the equations, I had told you that in case the value of M is given in terms of kg per hour, you have to divide it by 3600 to convert it into kg per second, so that you will get it as kilojoules per second, which is nothing but kilowatt. But now what has happened is, it is already given in kg per second. So there is no question of dividing it by 3600 again. So I will substitute the values. I have already calculated the indicated power. I know what is IP. M I know it is 0.0013 into the calorific value is given as 43,900 multiplied by 100. So indicated thermal efficiency will be so much percent. Okay, it is as simple as that. Directly, you have to use this. Suppose if this value, fuel consumption, were given in kg per hour, then you should have divided it by 3600, and then you would have got the correct value. But it is only given in kg per second, so directly I am using that value. So this is kg per second. For example, if I just check the units, kg per second multiplied by, this will be kilojoules per kg. So these gets cancelled. So it is kilojoules per second, and 1 joule per second is 1 watt. So it becomes kilowatt directly. This also is in kilowatt. So the units gets cancelled. efficiencies don't have any units. That is why you write it in terms of percentage. Now the same thing, instead of writing the indicated power, if I substitute brake power here, I am going to get the brake thermal efficiency. Rest all remains the same. So if I want brake thermal efficiency, this will be brake power divided by the same thing. So this will be brake power. So brake thermal efficiency again will be so much percentage. And obviously again you will find that brake thermal efficiency will be lesser than the indicated thermal efficiency, because brake power itself is less than indicated power. Okay. So what I suggest is, I have told you the entire methodology, how to solve the problem. Using a pen, paper, calculator, everything. I suggest, according to the methodology which I have mentioned here, you solve this problem and come out with the answers. Maybe, if you have any doubts, you can directly message me. Otherwise, once you are convinced about the answers, it is fine. Okay. So what I will do is I will also use a calculator and do the calculations. But I will share the answers later on, only after you solve it. I don't want to share the results now. You solve it first on your own, get the values. You can share it with me if you want, and then I will share the values which I have found out. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, I hope you have got satisfactory values for the first problem. We'll move ahead with the second numerical. Again, from the same word file. Just check. The statement of the problem is again, four-stroke diesel engine has all these things, and you are required to find out what is the indicated power, brake power, and frictional power. And if you look at whatever is given and what is asked, except for thermal efficiencies, everything else remains the same. And since again in this problem it is not mentioned whether it is a single cylinder or a multi-cylinder engine, we will assume it as a single cylinder and then try to find out. So what are the values given in the numerical? First thing is it is a 4-stroke engine. That is the first thing. Second is piston diameter is given as 300 mm. Now in the previous numerical, the values were given in centimeter, so you have to divide it by only 100 in order to get it in meters. But to convert millimeters into meters, you have to divide it by 1000. So 300 mm divided by 1000 will give you 0.3 meters. Then the stroke length is 450 mm, which is 0.45 meters. The mean effective pressure is given as 4 bar in the numerical. Diameter of the brake drum is given as 1 meter. So if the diameter of the brake drum is 1 meter, obviously the radius of the brake drum will be 0.5 meters. Effective brake load is given, which is nothing but 450 newtons. I think I have missed out on one part, that is the engine speed. Okay, so engine speed the value of n is given as 450 rpm. Okay, so these are the values which are given, and what we are required to find out is the indicated power, brake power, and frictional power. Of course, once you find out the indicated power and brake power, there is no big deal in finding out frictional power. So let's see how to again go about this. Since it is a 4-stroke engine and the value of the mean effective pressure is given in bar, you know which equation to use. So we will write, let's say, the solution. Indicated power will be 100 okay. So we have used this equation because the value of mean effective pressure is given in bar. If the value of mean effective pressure is given in Newton per meter square, then it would have been PMLAN divided by 60 into 2 into 1000 here. Anyway, we are going to use this. So again, it is simple direct substitution. So we will write this as 100. The mean effective pressure is given as 4. The stroke length is nothing but 0.45. Area again we need to find out. The diameter is given, that is 0.3. So area will be pi into 0.3 square divided by 4. Again, as I said, I will write it later. And the engine speed is 450 rpm. This divided by 6 60 into 2 into 4. Okay, so this part, as I said, will give you the area. If you know the diameter, you can find out the area as pi d square by 4. So it is again a matter of simple substitution, and using the calculator you can easily find out these values. So you will get some value. Ip is equal to so many kilowatts directly. Now once you find out the indicated power, the next step will be to find out the brake power. So we know how to find out the brake power and which equation is to be used. So Ip is known to us, that is indicated power is known to us now. We will find out what is the brake power. It is 2 pi nt divided by 60 into 1000. Okay, now we initially need to find out what is the value of T. Okay, so T is nothing but W minus S into R. And as I said, if the values of W and S are given in kg, you will have to multiply it by 9.81, and the value of R will be in meters. So finally, you get the units as Newton meters. But in this case, what has happened is the net effective load, this value directly itself is given as 450 newtons. It is already in newtons. So you don't have to again multiply it by 9.81. Okay. So we will directly take that value. So we will write this as 450 into the radius will be 0.5. Okay, because the diameter of the brake drum is given as 1 meter, the radius of the brake drum will be 0.5. So obviously this is nothing but 225 Newton meter. Now once you find out the value of T, you can find out what is the brake power. So brake power will be 2 pi, the value of N is again 450 into 225, that is 2 pi nt divided by 60 into 1000. Okay, so because this value is in Newton meter, we want to convert that into kilonewton meter. So we divide it by 1000 here. Okay. So finally you will get the value as or the value in kilowatt. So again using a calculator, find out this value. So you will get the brake power as so many kilowatt. So now you know, of course it is only brake power, indicated power, brake power and frictional power which is asked in the numerator. You can as well find out what is the mechanical efficiency, which is nothing but brake power divided by indicated power into 100. So now you know indicated power, you have using the previous equation. Here we have found out the brake power. So what is frictional power? Frictional power will be nothing but indicated power minus the brake power. So you get it in terms of many kilowatt. Now you should also understand that this frictional power should not be too high. Okay, these are just general numericals, and people just give some values and you try to find out. But practically, if the frictional power value is high, it means that brake power is low. Okay, and if the brake power is low, that means there are a lot of losses. Okay, so we don't want too many losses because of either friction or inertia and so on. Whatever power is generated inside the cylinder, which is the indicated power, as much as possible has to be transmitted to the crankshaft, which is the brake power. So friction losses have to be minimized. This is in practical terms. Here you don't have to worry too much. Based on whatever values you get, you just write down the values and get the answers. As I said, you have found out the indicated power, you have found out the brake power, you have found out the frictional power. If you want, just you can find out what is the mechanical efficiency also, which is nothing but the brake power divided by indicated power into 100. Okay, so this is a very, very simple problem where nothing else is asked. It is a matter of direct substitution. So I am sure when you solve a couple of problems, your confidence level will also go high, and you will be able to handle any kind of a problem as long as you are familiar with the equations which I have just mentioned. tension. I have told you. Okay. So now we have completed 2 numericals. We will continue later on by solving more problems. Okay. Fine. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.